We've been taught that castling is one of the first things we should do in a game. But what if I told you that sometimes castling is the worst thing you can do? Today I want to show you a couple of fantastic ideas to warn you that castling is not always so beautiful. Yeah, the thing is that in these games that I'm going to show you, players use the rooks on its original squares to launch a devastating attack against their opponent's kings. So let's start. The first game is going to feature a very important variation of the English opening. Yeah, this is one of my favorite lines as black. Yeah, the game was played by a former pupil of mine. His name is Gonzalo Navarrete from Mexico, and he played as black against a woman grandmaster from Germany, Heimann Josephine. So let's see the game. c4, e5, knight c3, knight c6, g3, completely normal English opening, yeah, with fianchetto, bishop c5, bishop g2, d6, and well, placing the bishop here is really active, but it's known to have some drawbacks, and the drawback is related to e3. Yeah, now the knight is coming to e2 and d4 is coming, but now black continues with a6, knight e2, and bishop a7. A couple of mysterious moves. Okay, a6 is to enlarge the diagonal, but why to hide the bishop? Well, the idea is that after d4, we want to bring the knight to e7, and yeah, castle, e takes d4, e takes d4, and knight f5. This is the idea. This is a pretty nice idea. We're putting a lot of pressure against this pawn, but the game didn't continue like this. Yeah, Josephine Heimann played castle. I checked it on Lichess Amateurs database, and curiously, this is the most popular move by a wide margin. Yeah, 30,000 people plays castle here in move 7, and it is actually a bad move. It's incredible. So let me show you the game, but this is incredible. The second move is d4, a3, and h3 are more sensible moves, but I mean castle is the most natural move. So after castle, yeah, as you may suspect by now, black played h5. Yeah, that's it. We use the power of the rook on its original square to launch the h pawn and create problems against our opponent's king. Yeah, okay, now the most common move is d4, but we have to ask ourselves what happens if h4. This is completely normal. Normally we'll get the g4 square. Yeah, we can place a knight there or a bishop, but here in this concrete position we can play g5. Yeah, we insist in the idea of opening white's king, and this is the way the game continued. On the other hand, if rather than play h4, h3 was played, now f5 can be a really strong move. Yeah, the idea is to play h4 again. So yeah, things are getting really interesting, and you may wonder what is going to happen with our king. Sometimes it is going to castle in the queen side, sometimes it's going to stay here on f8 or on e8. Yeah, and try to forget about its security, because I mean white's pieces aren't creating problems so far. So well, this may seem like a risk approach, but is completely approved by the engine. So after h4, the game continued with g5. Yeah, now black is capturing on h4, so h takes g5, queen takes g5 is more or less forced, and yeah, h4 is coming. So d4, h4, and e4. This was a game. The queen is threatened. Sometimes it's been played knight d5. Knight d5 looks completely normal, putting pressure on c7. And there are several ways to meet this one. I guess even bishop b8 seems to be super strong, as yeah, we are just focusing on getting to the h file with our queen. Queen h5. And the thing is that black is not only threatening h takes d3, but sometimes h3 may be good enough to win the game. So the game continues with knight d5, king f8, bishop e3, h3, bishop h1, h2, king g2, queen h3, king f3, and bishop g4. Yeah, it's worth mentioning that this game was a blitz game, so I mean, she is a very strong player and had a bad game. Well, Navarrete is not a bad player either, he's a FIDE master. But I mean, yeah, that may explain why she played so weak, no? Okay, so this is an interesting thing to bear in mind. e5, and when they play with g3, yeah, if they play with knight f3, things are completely different. Bishop c5 is answered by e3. But if they play with g3, bishop c5, and this line with d6, e3, and a6 is a really interesting line. We are delaying castle because we want to use the h pawn. Yeah, so if they castle, we are happy to play h5, h4. Well, the second game I want to show you starts with d4. This game was played by Boris Denis from Hungary versus Vyacheslav Mikhailov from Russia. Yeah, the game starts with d4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, and the good old Barry attack, knight c3. Yeah, in case you haven't seen my videos on the Barry, yeah, here you can have the links. So the Barry attack is a very aggressive, but at the same time has some positional nuances that makes it a really interesting weapon against the King's Indian and, yeah, the Grunfeld defense. And sometimes King's Indian defense players play right away bishop g7. That's what happened in this game. e4, and they think they can castle. Yeah, this looks pretty much like the King's Indian. Sometimes they refrain from playing d6 and do it later. But here, this is a very bad way to play, as e5, attacking the knight, forces knight e8. Yeah, of course, knight h5 is answered by g4. But after knight e8, now we can use the same idea. h4. Yeah, you might be wondering what's happening here, because h5 stops the attack right away. After g4, sacrificing the pawn, we make the attack even stronger. Yeah, h takes g4, knight g5, and our idea is to play h5. Now it's difficult for black to play. Yeah, I mean, h5 is coming, sometimes even queen takes g4, and yeah, this is really disastrous for black. f6, bishop c4, e6, and even queen takes g4, as f takes g5 runs into bishop d5. And yeah, we regain the piece and have a beautiful attack. h4 cannot be met either by h6, as h5 destroys black's position. g5, knight takes g5, h takes g5, h6, bishop h8, h7, king g7, queen h5, and this is again complete disaster. f6, bishop d3. Yeah, black will have to resign very soon. So yeah, nor h5 nor h6 is possible, so h5 is going to open the h file, and well, the game continued with d6, a normal response. Yeah, you attack me on the flank, I try to open the center, but things are not working for black here. h5, d takes e5, h takes g6, h takes d6. Opening the f file may seem good, but after bishop c4, yeah, black's king is running into so much trouble. King h8, knight g5, well, this looks completely lost. So rather than this, yeah, they try to keep the solidity of the pawn structure and the king a little bit less exposed, as well, it's already exposed from the h file, but yeah, the dark square bishop is guarding the king side. I mean, so as it's guarding the king side, is no wonder bishop h6 is the best move. Yeah, we want to trade this one, trade this bishop, come with the queen to d2 to h6, and deliver checkmate. So e takes d4 was the game, bishop g7, knight takes g7, and queen d2, sacrificing the knight. A beautiful move. D takes c3. Well, now white's queen is getting to h6, and yeah, with the help of the rook, delivering checkmate on h7 or h8. So d takes c3, queen h6. After f6, bishop c4, e6, queen takes g6. This is good enough to win. C takes b2, simply rook b1. Yeah, rook b1, we are in no rush. Our next move is going to be bishop d3. And this is it. Yeah, knight c6, bishop d3. And well, it's nearly impossible to cope with rook h8. Yeah, queen e8, rook h8, king takes h8, and queen h7 checkmates. Yeah, that's the idea. This is a very powerful idea. Yeah, the game continued with knight h5, and after knight h5, rook takes h5, g takes h5, and bishop d3. Yeah, complete disaster for black. Yeah, the only thing is not to play knight g5 because queen d2 is checkmate, and it's never too late to spoil the whole thing, but bishop d3 threatens queen h7 checkmate. Black cannot stop the mate without heavy losses, heavy material losses. So the game continues with queen takes d3. Let's try to understand why not to play something like rook e8 first. Well, rook e8 is the simplest, queen h7, king f8 and queen h8, checkmate. On the other hand, playing something like f5 rounds into knight g5. And this is again, yeah, completely winning, devastating. Queen g6, king h8, and knight g5 is also super simple, as queen h7 is unavoidable, unstoppable. Yeah, rook f7, knight takes f7, checkmate. So then we'll start to understand why queen takes d3 is forced. But yeah, also we understand that black is completely lost. Queen takes d3, c takes d3, c takes b2, the only hope. So after queen g5, king h7, queen takes h5, king g7, queen g5, king h7, rook b1. Yeah, and the rook is going to grab the pawn, and well, our queen is still destroying everything. So rook g8, queen takes e7, bishop e6, knight g5, king g6, knight e6, f takes e6, queen takes e6, king g7, queen e5, king f7, queen d5, king g7, rook takes b2, knight c6, rook b7, and game over. Yeah, the takeaway here is simple. We are taught to castle, but sometimes if your opponent has a possibility of launching the h pawn, sometimes will be the g pawn, but this is material for other video because there are classical games in this regard. Yeah, so when you see your opponent is able to launch the h pawn and you cannot stop it, you cannot counterattack in time, you may want to think twice about castling. So that was the message. Of course, castling is super important. We love to castle. Yeah, I hope you liked this idea, and in case you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up and to subscribe to the channel in case you haven't done it. Thank you very much and see you next time. Goodbye.